I wish you guys the best with your Yum Yum podcast.
Yum, yum.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
How are you?
I'm in a maze of my own memories, Rachel.
Oh, a miracle.
A miracle? You could say so. Or is it a curse? You ever think about that? Do you think you'd be strong enough to break free of the temptation? No, you think you'd be stuck in the memories on your past and the lady would win overall?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. I have no faith in myself.
That is true. I am married to Rachel, live with Rachel, podcast with Rachel. She lacks faith in herself and of the heart. But thankfully, we're here to maybe remedy some of that in our podcast discussions. But how could that be the case, Rachel? What are we here to do?
Heal me?
Yeah, maybe.
By discussing an episode of a science fiction TV show. In this case, Killjoys, which is a show that I have not seen before, and you have.
It is our first time watching together. And people can see us watching these episodes over on our YouTube channel in edited reactions and over on our Patreon in full. You get our bonus material, you get episodes early, you get those reactions fully unedited. So if you have the means to support the podcast, yumyumpod on Patreon is where you can go. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of it, Rachel. We have a very important episode of Killjoys to discuss today.
Sporemageddon.
Which is?
The last episode of season 4.
We have finally made it. And I have a summary for this episode to remind us all, to refresh us all on what this was about. So here we go. 3 unlikely people, Anila, Johnny, and Davin, must go into the green, free Dutch, save the universe, and stop the lady. Meanwhile, there's a virus in Old Town, and Turin is dealing with some space politics. That was Sporemageddon.
It is so random that a member of the 9 is just here.
Hey, they are always like that. They just randomly show up every once in a while to be like, we have power. We have power because we said we do. Yeah, it's very amusing how much they've fallen over the course of the series. It's very, very interesting.
Well, they lost Elsa.
She was the best of them. The Potter family's been pretty much wiped off the map too. So, yeah, there's a lot of elements at play with them. But Rachel, why are we called Yum Yum Podcast, and how does that tie into Killjoys?
That is an excellent question that you ask me often, and I tire of answering. Where you never seem to. You seem to have infinite yum yum energy, as some might say.
We're built different.
We are. You have faith in yourself.
That's true, and you lack the yum yum of the heart.
Is that what brings the yum yum?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Star Trek Discovery was the first show that we did on this podcast a full 6 years ago.
Wow.
From when we started now. And in that show, there was a line, and the line was yum yum. And you'd been pondering for some time about starting a podcast with me, because you already had one with somebody else.
And we just talk about all these shows that we watch for hours at a time.
Mm-hmm. And you were like, that's it. That's got to be it. We've got to do Star Trek Discovery because you are a long-standing Star Trek fan and nerd. And Discovery was a shit show. And you wanted to go through and pick out the nuts in that shit show. So that's how we got to Yum Yum. And each episode that we do, we bring the Yum Yum in some fashion. And in Killjoys, it's the Yum Yum laugh.
Because in Star Trek Discovery, that moment where a character said yum yum, out of nowhere, it's a non sequitur, but it doesn't belong in that show at all. It is meant to be funny. And it is funny, but in a way that is not intended. But Killjoys is a series, on the other hand, that has humor that is so wild at times that it is very funny. But I want to flag something that was unintentionally funny in this episode that made me laugh a lot, made you laugh a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I have two ways I could go about this, but they both involve the same scenario here, which is Turin. Turin gets a call from Zeph saying, oh my god, here are these new horrifying ways that the virus is impacting us. And he says, is that a good thing? And it's such a mind-bogglingly stupid thing to say. And it doesn't even match with Turin's level of dum-dum head that he has in the series, that we laughed. This is not supposed to be funny, but it is just supposed to be
at it.
Yes, and I think it's okay to reference how we laugh at the show sometimes rather than with the show.
It doesn't hit every single time.
Another thing we laughed at, or I did at least, is the member of the Nine that rocks up in this episode has some of the strangest line deliveries we've ever encountered in our 6 years of podcasting. It was truly otherworldly. You could say it's a fantastic performance because he feels like he is in a science fiction show where he speaks as if not only English is a new language to him, but the humanity is a new
human interaction.
It was something else, and I don't even know how he did it, but he did it.
Yeah, that was. Yum Yum is astonishing in Star Trek Discovery, so sometimes it's good to point out the astonishing moments of what the fuckery in whatever show we're covering, not just Killjoys. I also pick Turin saying, is that good? Because it's just so fucking ridiculous. And it's the thing that I think I laughed the most at.
Well, Rachel, I think you should be laughing a whole belly laugh because season 4 has had very few bitches in it. Okay? They've dropped the bitch count down a severe amount. This episode alone had to have, and I pulled the number from the air. I didn't actually do the maths.
Oh, I thought you did.
I just said it has to have like 18 bitches to help even out the season to where the last season was. And of course, this episode did not have 18 uses of the word bitch.
I had 4?
It had 4 because it's season 4. So a high number for this season's episodes. So
that was just my gut feeling.
You got it. It was in your gut. And I noticed that no one was kicked in the genitals in this episode. They didn't even hit the lady.
It's now been 1 episode since a nut shot.
Very tragic. I'm crying on the inside, and I think we can blame our usual suspects. Adam Barkin wrote this episode, and our good old buddy
Stefan
directed this episode. And to just go off of those two things that I think beautifully lead into my opinion on this episode, my just general thoughts. Solid.
Yeah.
Good. Not the best finale. I may have to say it perhaps is the weakest of the 4 we've seen, but I don't know if that's necessarily a knock against it. It's very well done, but nothing was a standout to me in this. It was just...
It blends.
It was efficient. That's its big compliment to it. There is some sagginess here. There is some things that we can critique about it, and we will. But that's just what I feel like. You got you got this team here. You got Adam Barkin, you got Stefan directing, and they're both doing their job well. But I didn't feel like it went above and beyond, especially in comparison to the other episodes that they have done this season. This episode takes place in the green space. And
was there a Loretta episode this season?
Yeah, she did the premiere.
Okay.
Yeah, so like this episode takes place in the green space, and it just wasn't very visually interesting as it was in previous entries. It was fine.
It did not have the flair that I've come to expect, especially with the idea of them traveling between areas of different people's memories. I think that could have been a really interesting visual to play around with, as they did with like the planet hopping.
Memory. Something my race never had. I'm not talking about the animal instincts that drove us. It's something deeper. Something that allows you to remember connections to your past, to imagine your future.
How did you feel about this episode overall?
I was like, this is fine. It's doing its job, but it's not leaving me with a whole lot. I feel like I'm going to have a bit of trouble remembering where this season ends and the next one starts.
And why is that?
Because it is so serialized at this point, but also because the things that happen in this episode are so deeply entrenched in the things that have been happening all season.
And that doesn't make it a more standout finale. Like, by that idea, it sounds like everything we've been having this season has culminated and we've reached this point. And yet, it's like, yes, it does all of those things, but
it's
isn't
not resolved completely. Like, there's not a definitive resolution other than the lady is free.
There's a threat that's impending.
But it's like, well, the lady has been a threat the whole time. It's now just she's a threat to the outside world. And it's like, well, yeah, they were never going to succeed in keeping her in the green this season. And I don't think you would have been feeling that way watching it when it first came out, even though I have the benefit of knowing that there's a season 5.
Yes. What I have to say is an odd thing, but it is a true thing for me. Something that's usually a praise is keep it simple. But I feel like that was taken too much in the regards of the construction of this. In the green space, our heroes go in there and there's the threat of the lady's going to fuck with their minds and make them relive their worst moments. And it's only challenging to Johnny. That's the only one that's challenging, and I feel the challenge there. And a part of that is helped by they brought back the actress of Potter. So there's also that element there.
A spin on the memory for him more than there is for Davin.
Yeah, Davin is just reliving beating the shit out of Dutch, and he basically shrugs that off and kind of makes a joke about it in the episode itself. And that's just like the epitome of it. It was like, okay, we've got one thing, but apparently this whole like Coleman, like this is the climax, this is the big thing, this they're entering the lady space. And we have seen in other episodes how bad she can be to characters. Like when she fucked around with Dutch in a previous episode, when she made her go through all of these different mindscapes and face off against Klein, that was much more compelling than this finale, which kept it rather simple.
And it is weirdly frustrating because you can see the intention behind it, behind keeping it simple and allowing these moments to breathe, because you don't want to feel too rushed. But it also has this disadvantage in a way of we were there for those moments. We know why those moments are the ones that the lady picks. So we want something different out of seeing those things again. And you get that with Johnny, but you don't get that with Davin.
And Dutch is too laser focused on the job at hand, and same with Anila to an extent as well. And I want to ask you this, and I don't know quite how I feel about this statement, but it's something that's swirling around in my mind. Are they too competent?
I had a feeling that that's where you were going. Yes. It feels like a foregone conclusion that they aren't going to defeat the lady, but they aren't going to be defeated.
They're not as messy. Like, they're a lean, mean fighting machine. They have a plan. They have their bond. They have their friendship, their family unit, and it is strong enough. And this is supposed to be the big bad of the whole series that's been building. And they don't beat her, but they do overcome her relatively easy. And again, Johnny is the weakest link in this, and even then, it's a small moment in the episode. And like, is that a bad thing though? Because do you want it to be yet another season finale where things slightly fall apart because one of the team members or multiple of them are in a really emotionally messy point?
No, I don't. I do not want that contrivance again. But something else needs to be here for it to be engaging in the way that you want a finale to be.
There's no conflict. Like that, there's a conflict in the sense of like, oh no, we can't let her escape and fuck up the universe. But on a personal level, there's not a lot of inner conflict that she is stabbing at in this episode.
Which is what she's all about.
Instead, we get gestures towards it, but the most direct thing that's happening in this episode, the most direct threat, the most impactful thing is there's a virus spreading in Old Town. And when this started to play out, I was like, oh, we're going to do this type of thing. But I must admit, I enjoyed this. I actually liked this side of the episode. I thought that it was paced really well. It allowed Zeph to do something rather than just grieve and be sad and run away. It gave her a problem that only really she can solve. I liked how Turin was wrapped into it. I felt for Pri and Garrett, obviously. They're very good characters to be in this situation and losing their essence of who they are as well as their physical health. And so I was genuinely surprised at like looking back on this episode and being more interested and involved in the B plot about a virus that has just been freshly introduced into the story and into Old Town, rather than like the big thing where all of our characters go into their past and are challenged by what could have been or what should have been or what not or what shouldn't have been.
I've got a question for you. We brought up COVID when we were watching this. But I do want to know do you remember how you felt about this plot of the virus watching it pre-COVID?
Yes, that's a great question. To me, I think it's hard to to say that because it gets washed away by what it leads to in the end. But it's hard to deny, like, you're looking back on this and, wow, they didn't know, but this is one of the elements of the show that's aged like a scary fine wine.
It was strange watching this because it is distinctly a pre-COVID approach to a virus. But there are those things that feel the same and feel reminiscent. And it is interesting watching it with the distance that we do have now, where it's recent, but it also feels like a long time ago. But it's been enough time that a lot of the emotions have faded. So seeing them struggle at this outbreak point and realizing the cause of it as well, I think that
had a very like smallpox and blankets type of vibe to it.
Yeah. But it was a solid plot. But again, it didn't have the punch that I wanted it to. Not recognizing Garrett was the moment that got me the most.
Call off your firecrackers, sunshine.
Pre, your viral load is dropping. You're gonna be up and dancing with Garrett in no time.
Well, that's nice. But who's Garrett?
I think it's a very smart move to have it that way around as well, because Pre is more of his mind than Garrett is. Garrett not having control of his body would feel more fitting than his mind, because he's a big dum bum.
Well, it's because Pre is...
with a big heart.
Yeah, Pre is one of the most verbose, articulate, soulful, mindful, compassionate characters in the series. So stripping elements of that away from him is dire for us, the viewer, because we don't want that. And it works. Like, it's so interesting to me that this strand of the lady is the thing that works the best, where it is something that was already in motion from her exterior forces from previous episodes. And I like that too. Like, we were wondering, like, what are they doing with the kids? They're clearly doing something with the kids, and a part of it was they're banking on they're going to come and rescue the kids.
Yeah, because it's children, it's evocative, and it does feel... It makes the ease of their escape back to Westerly feel more solid, because it's like, they wanted them to get the kids. It was a purposeful thing, because it did feel like okay, that just happened, and now they're just taking them back to Westerly. That seems reckless.
Exactly. And you, especially when we were watching these last couple of episodes, saying, why would just taking them back to Westerly be any better? And you realize, like, that's what the Hullen / the lady were playing on, of just like, yeah, these people will want to take them back home. We want them to do that too. We can't just put them back there because it would be suspicious. Let's make them feel like heroes. and we can hurt them in the process. Pippin can die in the process. Weege can die we won't make it easy, but we'll make it feel like they achieved something.
Yeah, you reminding me of that makes me even more pissed that Pip died to save these kids when they weren't in danger because they were bait.
They were bait. Yeah, isn't that, like, see, this is much nastier and tells me so much more about the lady than the actual bits where the lady's telling me about what she's about. Like, the virus, what does it do? It goes through all of these things, but at the end of the day, it robs you of your personhood and memories. And that's what she's about. She's all about memories. She's all about the past. She's all about what is it that defines you? And how can I take that from you? The Hullen as an example of like, here I give you this magical green goo that has all these healing properties, but it strips you of all of your emotions, your personhood. And now here's another version of like, how can I strip you of your personhood? And it's memories in this case. And I like
what makes you who you are.
And how can I take that?
But that is a central question of the show, particularly coming for Dutch.
Yes, is your past what makes you who you are? Does that define you? Does that confine you?
Do your actions.
Do your actions? Does the future, like, does your ideology, it all goes through. And this is a great extension of a lot of these questions for an antagonist to attack at. You and I have often complimented how just very matter-of-factly Killjoys has a very good hand at making technology seem like a coherent thing in their universe, and that there's different levels of it, there's different generations of it, that there's different
it's in different areas at different times, and you can adapt it and use it for different purposes, and you really get a good sense of resources when it comes to tech.
And we have that with how antagonistic forces dehumanize us. We started off with the haves and have-nots approach, the systematic problems, the hierarchies, the things that governments and tyrants put upon us. And now we've moved into more of the philosophical and the sci-fi premise of those things, with the Hullen being the example of, as I stated, like stripping you of your personhood through your emotions, and then this taking who you are via your past, your memories. And I like that. I think that's something that really works with this show. And again, it's a thematic element that they are tying together with the villain's actions. That speaks louder than actually having her do a monologue.
Yeah, I didn't really care for her monologue much.
Again, with me, I am indifferent about it because as a science fiction concept and villain, it is fascinating, but in the relation of the characters in this show, it's a bit toothless because she's just a sci-fi monster villain to them. She isn't something more direct like Klein was, like Anila was, like Delsea was.
Anila. It's very different, and it's just like, well, because they aren't going to turn her. They're going to defeat her. That's what I'm assuming, that the good guys are going to win in the end, but it's going to have a major cost. And the lady has been built up and billed as that big bad for a long time now.
And to give credit to the portrayal of the lady, they are trying to make her less of a mythologized, incorporeal entity, giving her vulnerabilities, desires, weaknesses, drives that aren't just this. Like, she's the last of her species. She herself isn't even alive. She is similar to what Dutch is, similar to what Klein is, like a memory that has been given form. And does that make her any less of a being than either of those two? Is she worthy of existence? Is she not? Time. She's all concerned about time. They need more time, And see, that there, I find compelling, but it's just not enough at the moment to be as impressed, because what does this have to say to our characters outside of it being more overtly thematic stuff than more directly intimate?
It doesn't change anything. It adds interest to us in discussion, but it doesn't really change anything in how our characters behave or the consequences of their choices.
It doesn't rattle them, because this is a foe that means nothing to them, and so she's not wooing them, she's not tempting them, and she is not making them feel more vulnerable than any other person has been. Like, yeah, she's messing with their minds by messing with their past, but they know that. It's
Turin has had a better effect on them with that same process. Not quite the right word. Like, stick to the carrot.
Yeah, stick to the carrot, like thwacking them to get them to do what he needs. Like Klein, as an antagonist, he has been compelling because we can factually say these things he did are bad. These things are morally reprehensible. The characters know that, but he keeps being someone who not only makes the characters reconsider, but us as well. And at this point, and not to say that there isn't more road to go, there's a whole season ahead of us. Is the lady offering that to you?
No. And I think, like, I kind of said it before, but it's like they're not interested in adding depth to her because it has to be satisfying that they defeat her or are defeated by her, because that was the way that they treated Anila and they treated Klein and they treated Delsea. Like, all of those people, it was after that initial defeat that they really got to become people.
You don't know what you're giving up. I know what you took from me. Time, life, happiness. And I am going to enjoy taking all of that from you.
She's not like she wants to dominate for dominate's sake. She genuinely doesn't understand how our memories things work. The way that humans and how we look at the past and we can just draw from those, emotionally speaking, that is foreign and alien to her. And she doesn't understand it, so she's going to consume all of us to understand it. Experiment, yeah, like with the Hullans. They were an experiment.
Yes, that they're adding more. They're always doing more and adding depth, but it does feel like there's a limitation because she's the big bad of the show and not just the bad of the season.
Is it also just, to tackle this straight on, even though we love science fiction, this is a TV show as well. Is it hard because she doesn't have one form? She is whichever actor they're going to speak these lines. Like, does that like make it harder to put a connection to her?
I guess so, but like, I hadn't really thought about it. I was just like, yep, that's just it. So it wasn't something that I was actively engaging with, but I guess it would have an impact but it's not one that I was like, oh yeah, how could I care about her? She doesn't have a face.
She wants to convince the characters that she's worth, like she has worth, that she has a point, that she has something going on. But she herself is unable to do that because I think of this very reason as well. Like, they all know that the way she talks to them is through nothing but overt manipulation. She's literally wearing the faces of the people they care about.
Yeah, when Anila calls that out, it is a really great moment.
See, the more we're kind of picking at this and discussing this, the more I'm liking this. It's just when watching it, it was just very, I guess, I don't know. I think maybe for a finale, you're wanting a bit more happening here.
But it makes sense to have this kind of lull in multiple senses before you go into the final season.
There was some wasted potential.
Yes, Ryan. What was that wasted potential in your opinion?
Dutch and Anila swap bodies. One of them's in the green, one of them isn't. And
they just don't want to do stuff with that.
Like, I asked you, will Anila be able to feel emotions properly now because she's in Dutch's body? Will Anila be less, how would you say, like, would Anila be less risk-taking because she can die now? And the opposite way it goes for Dutch. Like, would Dutch be affected because she is in Anila's body? Like, does it go the other way around? Even though she's in the green space, we can get hurt. Like, and the episode says, who cares?
Other things. Pay attention to other things.
We'll have a joke or two of Anila pretending to be Dutch.
We'll have Turin almost killed.
Yeah, because he sees through it straight away, which I liked. But then once Anila jumps into the green, miraculously, they swap back into their original bodies. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's not really commented on.
I thought there would be longer term consequences for that.
It makes the cliffhanger ending of the last episode feel
cheap,
pointless too. Because when you finished it, your mind was racing, and then this episode immediately shuts that off.
It is sad because it feels like the point where they could do that is fully gone. Like, this feels like it was their last chance to do something like that with the two of them.
They draw attention to the fact Davin has powers, and
that's
then
why they want to take him, not Johnny.
He's going to be the weakness to he's going to be the kryptonite to the lady. And he proceeds to only use his powers one time and not against the lady herself. And it makes me want to rip my hair out because I could be somewhat more forgiving about the lack of powers being used if you didn't bring it up. I know that he has them. There's been many episodes in a row where he hasn't used them when he should have. And that's annoying, but it's even more annoying that it makes it feel like it's going to matter in this story, and then it doesn't make a difference at all. It doesn't do anything.
You were much more annoying in the moment, whereas I'm just feeling really disappointed now.
Because, actually, why didn't he do anything more with it? Like, why didn't they have him fuck around in his own past using his green powers? Why didn't he confront the lady? Like, why didn't this happen?
I don't know. I don't know what their excuse was. It feels like they had a little bit of, they had the end in mind, and then they worked backwards a little bit. The mechanics of this episode I felt quite a lot.
How did you feel about Potter's return, though?
I enjoyed it, especially because at the start I was like, "Is this fully really used footage?"
Mm-hmm. They did a good job.
And then it's like, oh, okay, cool.
they really blended it beautifully.
Oh, Johnny being like, "Don't let me look back," was a real solid moment.
And the temptation of, even if it's not real, isn't it worth feeling like this? Isn't this worth it to live like this? It's the Captain Pike thing from the original series of Star Trek. He gets to live this happy fake life in this psychic prison because it's better than the misery of his existence. That's what Johnny's being offered, but it's not his physical existence, it's his mental existence in the real world is such a nightmare that this siren call is almost worth it.
And if he'd gone in alone, I think he would have stayed.
I may have some issues with the just average direction of this episode, but there was one touch that was just chef's kiss, because it didn't immediately leap out, at least to me, which is Potter is basically seducing, tempting, pleading, convincing Johnny to stay. But she's still bleeding from her chest from when she got stabbed. And it's just this eerie, upsetting thing because it's never commented on. And she's still bleeding, like you still see it's dripping down. And it's
Just a visual reminder that she's not meant to be here. This is not the way that it should be.
Now we have other things. What was Davin's trauma that we revisited?
Trying to kill Dutch. And you know what? I get why it is on multiple levels. But I do want to say, stabbing Johnny was pretty fucking bad too.
I wonder if you could have had it be him killing his platoon of men.
And us seeing more of that than we have in the past.
And that being the thing that bleeds through and chasing them through the woods rather than the Farron or whoever those bearded men were.
You mentioned that possibility during the reaction, and I remember being like,
because that's like Davin's stuff is still chasing them because it's always chasing him. And maybe this is just me. I would love to hear your opinion on it. I still feel like we never got a satisfying resolution on his trauma when it comes to having killed his own men.
No.
Once it was revealed what the Sci-Fi reason was, it's like we kind of clapped our hands and went, oh, he doesn't have PTSD anymore.
Yeah.
And I think if you revisited it in this moment to at least give acknowledgement that it's still something within him, I think that could have been really powerful stuff.
Especially with how it did and that trauma did and didn't impact him being a general of the fleet.
Dev. So, things got worse, huh?
Let's see if we can fix that.
Whoa, you're still using the sword? Well, we're in here? That's crazy, right? Johnny?
Crazy, yeah. Pretty much, but it also might work.
There's stuff with Anila and Dutch as well. They find a red box from Klein, and it's the peach from inside of it. And we're having a little bit of a discussion before recording off mic about our opinions on that. You were like, oh, you were kind of a bit more befuddled, like, okay.
I was like, I didn't immediately clock what it was and what it meant. Whereas you definitely did.
So what do you get out of it now? Now you realize it's the peach.
I do. It's that thing of, it's hard to say because there's that immediate meaning and immediate understanding that you get from Anila in that scene when she discovers it. And the meaning that she takes from that. But Klein's messages so rarely were that simple.
Nuanced.
Yes, if he bothered to leave a box. But then I'm like, was it Klein or was it the lady?
I think it's Klein.
Like, we are trusting that it's Klein, but there is still that doubt.
Oh, 100%, because Klein is a doubtful man, but then we're in this space where anything can be manipulated. So the peach was the thing that was the object that Anila initially took out of the green into her space. And then it became this thing for Dutch, where Dutch, as a small girl, was almost about to eat this rancid, rotting peach and poison herself. And so it has meanings to both Anila and Dutch. And it's really interesting because you can look at it on multiple levels of why it's being used in this episode. The most clear-cut being this is a very Klein way of giving Anila a solution, which is you can manifest things in here through your own memories. So she knows that, and she gives her esoteric advice to Dutch to do that with the spore. Right?
Yep.
That's what you do. But then you have these more meaningful things of like, we are directly calling out like, this is a part of the cycle. Like, it started with this. The lady being what she is now, it all started with the fact that you and Neela took a peach. Just that one thing, and then everything else starts to spiral out of control. But it also is Klein's fault. Like, it goes back and back and back and back and back. So multiple fun things, and that's what I liked about it. Like, we didn't get a whole lot of like, oh, Anila's reliving her nightmare past, or Dutch. They make it a joke with Dutch, where she goes to the armory and there's Banyan, who she did feel guilt having killed, but the episode is so dismissive of it. And does that work, or is it too much? Like, is it just too flippant? Is it a waste, or is it funny?
It's a fucking waste. That is what it is to me. Because it was, her death was a waste of life. And that weighed on Dutch. So her being so flippant about getting a redo of that, even though it's not real, annoyed me.
There's always the who could have beens. And I think it's fair to say Banyan raises this of, well, if we didn't have Banyan, who else could it have been? And the answer is most obviously Alvis.
Yes, but the show doesn't want Alvis.
To indulge in that a bit more, why is that the case in your mind? And also, would you have wanted it to be Alvis?
No, I don't feel it. I'm like, what? Alvis would have bought as little as Banyan does in this current iteration that we have before us.
He was her lover, though, at the time. They were together.
But the show didn't deal with that in the way that even calling him a lover of Dutch feels like it's more than what they actually earned.
I say it so clearly should have been Alvis, and it isn't for whatever reasons. Maybe the actor's unavailable, or they're not interested, or like we're saying,
it doesn't work. It doesn't work with the memory as well.
It doesn't work.
Like, they choose the memory based on, like, we've got to raid the armory, we've got to get guns.
We've got to relive.
There are plenty of
scenes
times
we've seen
when
Dutch and Alvis were together,
and around guns
and around knives, and weapons. Yeah. It's just it has to be said, because with a premise like this, where you're walking down memory lane and you actually do bring back someone like Potter, you always have to ask, who else could they have brought back? In the first episode of this season, they brought back very specific characters that made sense for that time period, and you were happy to see them, like Big Joe. Wow, I wasn't expecting to see him again. That's nice. But it's the opposite case here, where you're wanting to see certain people, and you're wondering why you aren't getting them, and are the people they are using better? And at the end of the day, one of them is great, and one of them is a joke.
it's just another reason why the Johnny stuff works better than the Dutch and Davin stuff. The end of this episode. It feels... It almost feels like this was inevitable. The lady was always going to get out, and they were always going to be separated. And it feels that way in terms of the show wants that to be the way that it goes. But the thing that is nagging at me is Klein.
Oh, interesting.
Because Klein said to her, like, you need to go find Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny is the key. Johnny will be the key. Johnny is your heart.
You can always rely on him.
Yes. So it feels interesting that the lady in her orchestrations has kept the two of them together.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But Davin's on the outside. And that feels dangerous for the lady to choose to keep two of them together.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so, and like, how much of that is her deliberate or her naivete? Because Klein tricked her throughout this. She doesn't even know how she got tricked by him, really.
No.
I mean, I guess she could read their memories now and figure it out, but even then. And so the ending is they kill the green. The green is dead, by the way. Like, all of the green is dead now.
Yep.
The Holland are still a question mark. I guess they're fine. We don't know fully if they're,
we don't know what the impact was on them.
like, if it just kills the green that's just out there in the world in the pools, or if it just inerts the Holland. I imagine we'll find out soon enough.
I think it's set up in a way that it doesn't affect the Holland, because they were able to make their own pool from their, like, spinal fluid plasma.
That's why I say that.
Yeah.
That's why I assume that as well. But that was when it went solid. Now it's been killed using the sports, and it's all effective. But the lady is out.
Will it not replenish? Like how...
maybe that's what the factory's doing.
When, like, the cleansed process.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's what the factory is for, because we see at the end of this episode that everything has been altered. We're in this almost idyllic 1950s Americana coded, Fallout type aesthetic, bright, colorful, cheery. Everyone is swapped around. Dutch and Johnny are in a relationship. They run the royal. All the men are in their overalls, and they're going to the factory where we see there's all this green, toxic-looking smoke filling the sky. And there's all of these little details.
Old Town's always been a mining town.
Yeah, yes, exactly. There's all these little details. Before we even get that, one of the big question marks, Anila. Anila gets beaten by the lady and left behind in the green.
I feel like she must have gone now.
Who else was there?
Klein. Klein appears. He's been mysteriously absent from these situations, but he is there behind Anila.
Doesn't say anything. Doesn't even make his presence known. Only we see it.
Memories aren't just where you've been. They're who you are. And if I own that, I own you.
With the ending, obviously it's a what the fuck type ending. We have a bunch of things. Garrett and Johnny are best friends who work at the factory, and they're into wrestling. They're into the fights. Turin, he got affected. So it makes it clear with Turin getting affected that it isn't just Old Town. Because he wasn't in Old Town, he was in space. He was nowhere near to get the virus as well.
He had no direct interactions with the children.
Yeah, but what is he?
He's a beggar.
He's he's selling food on the street, and what does he have? Really long hair now.
Yep.
So is that an indication that just time has passed as well?
That's what I assumed. That it's been a little while, and I'm interested in how much time has passed and if Dutch and Johnny found their way to each other in that time.
Or if they were forced to be together. And how long and how far spread is this? There is the one thing as well. Davin is still a Killjoy.
Yes.
And he's got no recollection of Old Town. He's new here, but he's on a job.
Yes, the lady has him hunting for Jack.
So Jack is, you would imagine from that, unaffected by this. If she's still looking for him, that's the shorthand that you get from this. If he was under her control, then she wouldn't need Davin to hunt for him.
And does that mean that Dulcea is also unaffected? Because if Dulcea was affected, then she would know where Jack is.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel about this as an ending? Because this is a new type of ending for Killjoys. Each season has followed a very particular pattern of one member of the crew has been kidnapped. We must go get them. One member has been taken.
Because
one member has left.
They've lost themselves rather than losing a member of the team. And I think that is a great fucking way to play with that.
And a very unique change up of the status quo.
Yes, which is, it's needed because it's somewhat struggled with finding its identity beyond being a warrant of the week. And it played with that for a while. But now there's such a clear way, not a clear way forward, a clear destination in mind.
With everything said and done, removing what we feel about this as an individual episode, to look at this in the grand picture of the season itself, was this a good finale for this season?
I think it was overall. And to sort of repeat what you said earlier, I do feel like I enjoy this and appreciate it more post-discussion than I did going into it. Because it is that thing of there are many gripes to be had with this episode. But you get the sense that they are intentional and purposeful. So when you're examining it in the broader context and evaluating it rather than just feeling your responses, it changes.
Having to rate this episode, I am actually very happy to give it a yum yum.
Yum yum.
It's got many problems, many big issues, but they're ones in which not only are they good to talk about, but they also help make me appreciate and refine my opinions on the things that are working in this episode. These are the type of episodes where when I say there's problems, I say it with
non-derogatory.
With a smile. This episode has problems, but it gets my brain working, and I did feel things when I watched this episode.
Yeah, this episode is more good than bad. So it was never a contender for a yum. But I still don't have that solid feeling of like confidence in why it's a yum yum.
Yum yum.
Who knows? By the time we end this season, you may change your opinion on it. You may, once we come back next week to talk about the season as a whole, have an even finer appreciation or disdain. Who knows? It's one where I think out of any episode this season, and this is something too, is this is the one that you have to chew on the longest, I feel.
Which is something that you want from a finale, because you are meant to be left dwelling on this for like a year.
Yes, but is it something you're chewing on in a good way, or is it a bitter pill? As stated, next time we will return to talk about this 4th season, go through the high points, low points, best episodes, worst episodes, favorite character things, and what Rachel thinks will be happening in the future of the series. The final season is coming upon us, so make sure to tune in and keep following our journey. You don't think you're ready?
I don't think I'm ready.
But I said tune in. You gonna tune in?
Yeah, you're gonna make me tune in.
Oh, Rachel, I think you're finding that faith. Maybe you have enough to tell everyone where they can find us, how they can support the podcast, and wrap us out.
They can find us on the various social media of choice under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. Email address is yumyumpod@gmail.com. But I highly suggest paying a couple of dollars a month to get access to our private Discord.
Oh, yeah. We're having a great time. Tron is happening. We are watching the Tron movie franchise. And we're having a blast. Lots of joy to be had there. We are also going through on Patreon a bunch of different adaptations of Pride and Prejudice. We're discussing anime as well. We're discussing random things we're watching, all of that good stuff. But again, thank you all so much for being here. This has been a blast. I've really enjoyed discussing this. To pull the curtain back a little, I was feeling pretty sleepy. It's been a big day at work for both of us. And Rachel, you pushed me. You said, no, we're going to do this. And I pushed myself, and I was like, oh, okay. And then as soon as we started, I was thinking about this episode. I was thinking about this season, and I just got that extra energy, that yum yum energy.
You always have the yum yum energy. You just need to find it.
It was in me all along.